really submit is to respect the fact that the person that you are submitting to has a responsibility to take care of you, and that by submitting, you are making it possible, and you are respecting the fact that they have a job to do and your benefit is involved. And I think one of the, kind of going along with that, with what Kathy was saying, and also going back to Genesis and the fall that Damien was talking about, um, one of the first things we see is um, Eve was told by Adam, presumably, not to eat from the tree. She failed to submit. Then Adam ate from the tree as well. He failed to submit. And then what immediately happens after that, God walks into the situation. He's looking for Adam, and Adam shows up. And basically, the problem is that there's immediate distance put between God and man. And then what happens after that is God addresses it and basically says, "Didn't I tell you not to eat from it?" And the man's response is, "The woman you put here with me, she gave me some fruit from the tree and I ate it." And we kind of already talked about how Adam kind of throws Eve under the bus at that moment. And then God turns to Eve and she turns to the animal, which she also is responsible for, right? Men and women both were called to subdue. And so she also throws that which she is to subjugate and to care for. She throws the animal under the bus, essentially, and says, it was them, it was him. And so God kind of like goes through this and has to deal with everybody deflecting responsibility. And then he lays out and everybody gets blamed for this and everybody has to deal with consequences. And we see these consequences. And I find it so interesting that he takes Adam's original fulfilling purpose, which was designed to fulfill him, and caring for the land and producing good things and caring for the animals. And suddenly we see that turned on its head. And then we see for the woman, and obviously there's severe pains in childbirth, and we see that. Okay, so now she's going to produce for Adam, but it's going to come with great pain. But then we find this other part, and it says, the desire of your heart will be for your husband, and he will rule over you. And if you're a woman, this is a crushing statement. And I think any woman who is aware of her own, wanting to be loved, reading that is a hopeless statement. He's essentially saying love no longer plays a factor. He will rule over you. You will be subject to him. And there's really it doesn't talk about love. And that's just crushing. But I find it really interesting that after Christ comes and he fulfills the law, and we have him coming and renewing things, and he calls out a new man, and he's even called the new Adam, which is really interesting because if you look at it, Adam was called to submit to God in one area. Really, he was called to submit to God in one area of obeying him in regards to the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. But Christ himself had to submit to God in all things. And so in that way, he did far more than Adam ever had to. So then he becomes the new Adam, and he calls out in men to be renewed, to be made new, and essentially to make new what has been destroyed, but calling men into what they were intended to be in the first place, and saying, I am now giving you the opportunity. And we see this over and over again. He says, come to me, those of you who are burdened and heavy laden. And he talks about, I will give you rest. You say, well, God, I still have to work. He says, yes, but my work is fulfilling, as it was supposed to be. And then he later we see this for women as well. And I love this kind of this turn. It says, wives, submit to your husbands. Okay, and a lot of people stop there. Don't stop there. It goes further, and it says, husbands, love your wives. And we see kind of the undoing of the curse in this moment of God calling and saying, the curse is to be undone. Your job is now to fight against it and undo it, even to the point of conquering death, which was the consequence of eating from the tree. And so now mankind has been given the ability, the power to fight back against what he unleashed, starting in himself, and also giving back, taking back the responsibility and the power to call into existence what he was supposed to be calling out all along, and that was woman's identity. And so it says, love your wife, even as Christ loved the church, even willing to give up his life. And at one point, even it says, basically treat your wife as you would yourself. And a man doesn't hate his own body. And even Peter says, treat your wife well, that God might hear your prayers. So it's not like this is a simple, easy, take it or leave it kind of thing. This is an integral part of becoming a new person in God. And the beautiful part about it is, and this is really part of the gospel story, is here's where we started. We had this horrible curse that we had to live under, and we had to live with the consequences of that. And that was painful, and it was hurting us, and it was hurting our God-given identity. And now Christ has come, and the opportunity to turn that curse on its head and renew everything that we were given, everything that we were intended to be, it's now possible. And so I don't think, we talked about, we kind of brought it down for a minute, but I think that it's important to point out it doesn't end there.